Good day, everyone. Excited to finally be on our long anticipated and expected Legally Informed show. This is really an exciting moment for me, I must say. And it's a privilege, it's an honor that I'm not doing this inaugural episode all alone. I'm not doing it by myself. I'm doing it with a really dashing looking gentleman, a lawyer, a seasoned lawyer of a good number of years. I won't tell you that. I'm honored to have on this show with me today Askia Otonte. Forgive me. I knew that I might have issues pronouncing your name, so I already took permission. All right, so Askia, Barrister Axia, like they usually say, even though we know that there's no proper title like a barrister, but we're glad to have you on board with us on this inaugural episode. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you so much. Hello, can you hear us?
Hello, everyone. Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for having. Yes, I can hear.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Welcome on board.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. And I won't say I'm a seasoned lawyer. Well, I'll just say I'm
Okay.
a lawyer. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
What qualifies as seasoned is subjective, I think. Not subjective, but it's good to have you on board. Welcome. Okay, so today we are launching out the Legally Informed series has been going on Facebook, on Instagram, and on our page for quite a while now. And we're launching out here because we want to reach more people, because we want to bring, a repertoire of experts in their field talking about different things. And we want to start out today talking about the why. Why is it necessary that we're talking about legal information or legal education, or having our world, our people within our sphere more enlightened and aware, of what the law says regarding not just, general rights now, but everyday life. Talk about gender rights, talk about health rights, talk about property rights, talk about rights within the business community, the business milieu. Why is it important? That's what we're focusing on today, because if you don't know the reason behind something, it's easy it's easy to misunderstand, like they say. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable, right? Okay, so we'll have Mr. Askia just talk to us a bit about the why, the necessity behind what we're doing, behind why not just legally informed, but lawyers generally want to have you know that, okay, this is what should be.
Okay. Okay. Hello again.
Yeah.
So I would say every first year law student that's in the university should
Yeah.
recall what King James III had to say. He said, a, a lawyer doesn't know much more law than any other person. I'm
Mm-hmm.
paraphrasing, but
Mm-hmm.
he knows better where to find the law. And
Okay.
it's also said, yes, it's also said that ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
At
So
all.
just because you don't know that thing, yes, is unlawful or illegal, doesn't give you the right to do that thing or to perform that act. And even after the act, you are not excused from whatever penalty or fine you are meant to pay as a result of doing that act, whether or not you knew it was right or wrong. So, this for me is the foundation for which knowing our rights, knowing more about the law is important for each and every single one of us as individuals. So you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to know the law. In fact, I would urge and encourage every single person, whether you're a lawyer or not, to at least have a copy of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution, for you to know what the Constitution says about you as an individual and as a citizen of the country. Because you'll be surprised, there's certain things that go on in the country, and people are oblivious to the fact that, oh, these things shouldn't happen. Just for example, the protest issue last year and then this year, you
Yes,
hear
the
some people say,
NSAS and everything. Yes.
people say, oh, these things are wrong, they should obey. But protests are a constitutional right of every single Nigerian citizen. As long as you are a citizen and you have a grievance and you want to express yourself, you are constitutionally empowered to express yourself. And it is captured under Chapter 4 of the Constitution. Chapter 4 lists out all the rights of Nigerian citizens. So these are the little things that we take for granted. Imagine the police arresting someone and keeping him in prison for longer than necessary. And the person doesn't even know that he shouldn't be there. Maybe they just picked him up and they've not charged him, they've not taken him to court, he's just there. So you don't know that after 24 hours, you should, at least within 24 hours period, you should appear before a court of law. So these are the little things that define your lawfulness as a Nigerian.
Yes,
These
as
are
a
the things that
the
you should
lawful
know.
citizen of the country, exactly. And then the truth of the matter is that, I do really think that this is a culture that we need to activate. This is something that we need to make a part of us, because, not everybody who was born in Nigeria will live and die in Nigeria. People
That's
are
true.
people are forever moving, people are taking
Yes,
trips, doing businesses in the diaspora, and there it's regular practice to know what the law is. People don't usually say. People
that's
are used to demanding for what is right, what their rights are, but we have a culture here of indifference, so to speak, apathy regarding the law. And sometimes I keep wondering, why is it so? Why do we feel like it doesn't matter? I mean, anything at some point, in fact, something happens to you, somebody does something, and everybody tells you, why not just let it go? Why are you making a fuss about this? Do you have anything to say? Why do you think that we have that culture, that attitude, around us?
mm. um if you keep doing something a certain way, I think it has a way of becoming a habit. So
Yeah.
I think it started because well, this is my humble guess, probably because nothing was actually done against on unlawful doers, maybe people that performed certain things, maybe they got away with it. So it's now imbibed in us that whether you're doing good or you're doing bad, you can always go scot
You can get
free
away with just
because there are
about
certain,
anything.
yes, yeah. So that for me is one of the instances that maybe uh, made our opinions on certain things go sour. For example, a lot of Nigerians have lost faith in Nigeria. Why do I say this? You've been aggrieved, or let's take the Lekki killings for example. There was an issue there, the loss of lives, and up till now, nothing has been
Nobody
done,
has been held
nothing has been said.
accountable. True.
Exactly. So why would you want to call on another set of Nigerians to want to repeat the same thing? I'm not saying they won't come out, but then there will be this feeling of, oh, it
What
didn't work.
happened? What happened with the initial
You,
ones?
yes. So this has a way of affecting our
Affecting the
mentality,
mindset.
affecting our,
I agree. I
yes.
agree.
So even if you then have to ask yourself certain questions.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. But then, are we going to be stuck there? What do we do? Do we say, do we just fold our hands? Do we give up, and say, oh, well, it's happened, there's nothing we can do about it. Nobody really is enforcing rights, so well, let them do as they will. You know, aren't we aiding and abetting, you know, of sorts, if we maintain that kind of attitude? What do you think is the way forward?
Well, I would say the way forward is what we're doing right now. The
Mm,
fact that we're still holding this kind of session,
yes,
enlightening the public,
true.
shows that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Yes. So for me, I would say doing things like this, educating the masses, like I said at the beginning, making sure every single person has a copy of the Constitution.
Mm. Sorry, we've lost you there for a bit. Uh, your network, I guess. Just let us know when you're back on. Hello? Hello? Okay. All right. So while we wait for Askia to come back, really, this is he has just hit the nail on the head. This is the why behind, you know, the Legally Informed series, the Legally Informed show, the fact that more people need to be aware. I find that people see the law as, you know, something abstract, something that you only get involved with. You're only connected to the law or connected to a lawyer when there's a problem. But the truth of the matter is that that couldn't be farther from the truth. The law permeates every aspect and angle of life. You have the law touching on, of course, the first and foremost, the right to life. You have the law touching on your health rights. You have the law touching on property rights. You have the law touching on gender rights, on a whole lot of issues. And so the law isn't something that you just ignore, because like it or not, every single day of life, you are connected to the law. The law is applying to you whether you are aware of it or not. So the more aware you are of what should be, the easier it is for us to demand for what is right. Yes, we might not be there yet as a country, but like we've already agreed, a lot of people have things to do even outside the shores of this country. And even for those who are within here, it's easier to ask for what you know. If you do not even know that something exists, how do you begin to ask for it? Oh, okay, you're back on.
Yes, please. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
oh, oh, that's fine. So yeah, I was just saying that, you know, I agree with what you're saying, that that's why it's important that we put out information out there as much as possible. We don't get tired. You know, what do you do when something is wrong? You keep taking steps to correct it. You don't
Exactly.
assuming someone is ill. That's why you keep going to the hospital. That's why you keep getting tests run, diagnosis done, you know, just so that you keep addressing it until you find, you know, the best solution, and then the person gets well again, you know, hopefully. So it's so key what you have said. You know, putting this out here is getting people informed, getting them aware, increasing your quest, you know, your desire even to be aware of what guides your everyday life. Because like we have agreed, it touches on every part of our lives. There's no limit. There's nobody who doesn't have an interface with the law, whether you are in business, you're working, or just, you know, as a family person in your personal relationships, whether with a spouse, you know, the law touches on the kind of marriage that you have, the implications it will have on you afterwards, like concerning your assets when you're gone, concerning your children, you know, so many things. So yeah, I really do agree that one of the steps is what we're doing. I'm sure you have a few more words to add before we wrap things up. So yeah.
No, yes, right. So, there are so many things in Nigeria that if you actually look at them, you'd understand where I'm coming from.
Mm. Oh, wow. Hello. Okay, seems like we lost him there again. Hope that he's able to come back on before we wrap up this session. But the beautiful thing is this just got started, and there's so much to talk about, and we're not letting go of it anytime soon. The idea is sit tight, click to subscribe, share, engage, comment, ask your questions. This is about us as a society. The focus is to get us as enlightened. Like he mentioned, I know I've spoken with a number of people who live outside this country, who have in specific details ideas of what the rights contained in the constitution of the country that they live in says. So they're not depending on anybody, to say to them, okay, this is there. So they know when something has gone wrong. They know when to demand for better. And that's what the truth of the matter is, that times have changed. We're now, in the season where the citizenry are beginning to demand more. Of course, I'm sure that so many people didn't think that something like the NSAS, protest would happen and other things that have happened, because people are beginning to be aware, and we need to sustain this momentum. We don't go low on it. We don't give up. We sustain the momentum. And so we're going to be talking about so many things. You're right, as a consumer, so many things that we take for granted. People go spend their money to patronize businesses, and they are treated like, they don't matter. And there are rights that protect you as a consumer. So these are all of the things that we're going to be dealing with. Yes, we are going to wrap up this episode very shortly, but I assure you that there's so much more to talk about, and it will be easy, or easier when you are engaging, when you're sharing, and when you're asking questions. So you also tell us what exactly you would like us to talk about even more. All right, you're welcome back, sir.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You're welcome.
Okay.
So you were
So
saying,
apart from getting the constitution and knowing what it has to say, the constitution needs to be amended. There needs to be a restructure in Nigeria, because certain things that we go through as Nigerians are also as a result of the lacunas in the constitution.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is an angle.
Yes. I say this because Nigeria ought to be a federal system. We ought to be operating in a federal system of government. But then we are not actually operating that way. When I mean federal system of government, it means that um, each state is supposed to be in charge of whatsoever resources that state has.
Autonomy, yeah.
But yes, but instead everything goes to the federal government itself. And you know that the constitution is the ground norm, is the foundation upon which every other thing rises and falls in Nigeria. So like the Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? So if there's an issue with the constitution, how can we as Nigerians say we are free of issues or free of illegalities if the constitution has a defect in itself?
Yeah.
So constitution, know what it has to say, but then have an open mind, because the constitution itself needs to be upgraded, it needs to be amended to fit into our modern day realities, to
Current
fit into
reality, exactly.
Exactly. So the constitution needs to be amended, Nigeria needs to be restructured. If we are operating in federalism, then it ought to be our reality.
Wow. Wow. And how can people know, what to ask for? How can we begin to talk about the kind of amendments? How do we behave on our legislators, for instance, to say, okay, you are representing us here. This is what you should be bringing. These are the kind of bills you should be talking about. How do we do that when we don't even know what is operational? I remember when we began one of the series that we've run on the legally informed discourse has been talking about constitutional rights. And I, like you mentioned, I remember when I talked about someone not to be held longer than 24 hours or 48 hours, depending on the radio's the distance between the place and the court, simply speaking.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. So what happens in this case? What happens? And then another very salient discussion that we had, that people were so amazed. People didn't know that, oh, there's been a law that says you ought to, in fact, you are mandated to treat someone with a gunshot wound or a knife wound,
Oh.
pending when a police report is available. You do not ask for it before. People didn't know that. So there's so much that the ignorance is doing. Lives are being lost. So if you don't know what to ask for, if you don't even know that, okay, this is the position, how do you begin to, first of all, demand for what is yours, or secondly, ask that there be improvements made on it? So yes, I really agree with you. And like I said to you, my audience, there's so much to talk about. It's not exhaustive, and we're only just beginning. We're going to be, but today this is just basically, like Askia and I have talked about, basically to get you to understand the why, the reason behind the knowledge that you need to know. Because if you don't know the why, it's easy to take it for granted. The law is not something abstract. The law is connected to you more than you know. It's affecting your life more than you know. In fact, a lot of people, for things that they could have prevented, usually wait until it has gone so bad, and then they now want lawyers to perform magic. Well, you can't perform magic, because it's something, and like he said, ignorance of the law is no excuse. That you didn't know that this is the law doesn't stop the law from being applicable to you, So any last words for us, please, Askia?
Okay, yes, I would say this issue is very delicate because it affects almost every area of our lives as citizens of Nigeria. So I was trying to make mention of even your relationship with your landlord or with your tenant.
Awesome. Yes, yes.
Mm, Yes, you could do so many things as a landlord. You could evict your tenants by yourself, which is wrong, which is illegal. You go into contracts without, you go into without any paperwork, without signatures, without witnesses.
Okay.
So these are just the little perks of knowing your why, knowing why you need the law, knowing why the law is necessary for you as a citizen,
Exactly.
for you as an individual. And
Exactly.
this is also why this session or this series should go on, because the more you do, the more knowledge you share, the more people are going to be enlightened and empowered to know their rights, which is also another reason why when maybe you are stopped by a police officer or a security agent, you're not meant to be harassed. Like if they have not read you your rights, if you have not been found guilty, you should not be treated as a
As
guilty individual. Yes.
already condemned by the courts, yeah? Yeah.
So these are the things that affect us. We're not even talking about the things that go up, up there. Just on the
Our
surface level
everyday
here,
life.
everyday lives. So these are the little things that we need to take note of. So it starts with you reading the Constitution. It starts with you knowing your rights. It starts with you asking reasonable questions to the right authorities. If your landlord has an issue with you, it shouldn't be something that he should do by himself, especially if there is no paperwork. Your landlord has no rights to take up the roof. He has no rights to pour water into your. No, all of those things are
So many
jungle
horrible
justice.
stories.
So yeah, so you need to start following this session. You need to start getting enlightened. You need to know that before you go into business with anybody, you need to have documents on paper. You need to have agreements. You need to have your terms properly and clearly defined, stated on paper for both of you to sign, for as many of you to sign. So these are the little things that I hope this series is going to explore more of.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Askia Otonte. It was really awesome to have you here. Your name Askia almost sounds like awesome. So, well, maybe they should have been synonyms. Thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you, everyone. I really hope that you get to subscribe, you get to like and share and engage, and we're going to have an amazing time learning, unlearning, and relearning. All right. So from all of us here is cheers until we come your way again next week. Have a nice week ahead.
Right.